So the Seahawks are removing some photos from the Pete Carroll era that have been blown up and posted in the VMAC, and it's caused uproar from former players. I don't think any current player cares. The media and similar media types like Pat McAfee has talked about it. The local guys have all talked about it. And I can't imagine. First off, what I would like to see is, what did Pete Carroll keep from the Mike Holmgren era of, and granted, the Seahawks never won a Super Bowl under Mike Holmgren. They did go to a Super Bowl under Mike Holmgren. Mike Holmgren was a legendary Hall of Fame caliber coach. What did Pete Carroll keep, or was everyone pretty happy to move on from the, recent era of relative mediocrity that we had experienced under Mike Holmgren? And I guess, obviously, Pete Carroll's been here long enough that social media was a fraction of what it is now, and it made up such a smaller part of the sports landscape. But to me, this feels like an absolute nothing story that's been blown up into this thing where we're trying to figure out a reason to hate Mike Macdonald before he coaches a single game.
Oh, these stories are great. They're great for fans. They're great for radio or talking heads. They're great for the former players who want to remain relevant and have people care about their opinions still, which I think is a real big thing. I mean, if you've spent your whole life in the spotlight and suddenly you're not in it, you got to find a way back in. These types of stories help with that. But you're right. I mean, this is stupid. It's very stupid. Imagine if you redecorated your house and everybody that you know got mad that you redecorated your house, but you didn't really know why they were mad.
It's not even really that, though. It's like, imagine if you bought a house from somebody else and took down their decorations.
Right.
You know what it's and also, I don't know if you're aware of this part of it. They're putting up video boards that are going to have photos of all eras of Seahawks football, including the present era, but also the Super Bowl era, also the Carroll era. He also took down the basketball hoop at the.
I think the players, the ex-players, are probably more pissed about the basketball.
Sure,
I would have to imagine than the pictures of times gone by. But I understand it, man. I mean, this is I guess I can see both sides. This is in my classic fashion. I can see both sides because
non-committal.
In some ways, the move, it could have been a very innocent thing that Mike Macdonald and his staff were doing, and maybe they had no idea it would inspire this type of reaction. But it also kind of feels like, every now and then you'll have a coach that comes in. I remember when Tyrone Willingham did this with the Huskies. You have a coach that comes in and says, we're taking the names off the back of the jerseys. You got to earn it. It's going to be, and you always see that there's always one team in the NCAA tournament out of some nothing conference that you didn't even know was Division I, that this team has this going on where they got no names on the back of the jerseys. And I always think to myself, man, it'd be really cool if that tiny ass school had the players' names on the backs of the jerseys, because now they're on national TV and nobody has any clue who they are. Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's it almost felt like that type of move where a coach comes in and is like, you got to earn it. You got to earn everything. We're taking the names off the back of the jerseys. We're taking these photos of the past history down. And it's like, okay, buddy, we get it. We get it. You're trying to put your stamp on things, but at the same time, just maybe pull it back a little. You don't have to do as much. You don't have to do so much. Just be a good coach and win, and no one's going to care what you do.
Yeah, Mike Hansen says, I want to say Bob Whitsitt did the same thing to the Seahawks. And that's kind of my point, is we just haven't seen someone make huge changes in Seattle for so long because there hasn't been a coaching change in Seattle for so long. I imagine this happens everywhere all the time. And yeah, it's all, I will say this, these kinds of things, when they start to become part of the case against Mike Macdonald. And though Richard Sherman doesn't play for the Seahawks anymore, Cam Chancellor doesn't play for the Seahawks anymore, the guys that are outspoken about this, they don't play for the Seahawks anymore. And probably, the only remaining players in the NFL from the Super Bowl team are Bobby Wagner, who I think is unsigned. No, he went to Washington. I'm sorry. Bobby Wagner and Russell Wilson. Bobby Wagner is the only guy from that defense that had the Legion of Boom as part of it. This is gone. This is a bygone era of the Seahawks. It's hard to admit, but it's gone. It's over.
It is interesting because I kind of understand it from the fans. If you're a fan who's like, this pisses me off, I can kind of get it.
If they start taking banners down, I'll be mad. But if it's some shit inside the practice facility, I don't even see that.
I mean, it's such a stark contrast from like the Mariners, who have thrown 1995 and 2001 in your face for over 2 decades now.
Of course.
And it's like you're used to that. You know, you're so
don't forget the Felix perfect game also. They love the
and that was 12 years ago now. Right. Yeah. So it's like you have one franchise that so rehashes the past because it's not even like that great of a past, honestly, but it's all they have because they're trying to distract you from what's usually a very bad present.
Yes.
And then you have an organization like the Seahawks that in one move is just going to kind of, they're not nuking the past, but they're just kind of changing the perspective and trying to put their own identity in the team and the franchise. And I understand that. And I think
either that or they're not, because they're putting up these video boards that are going to have the same fucking pictures on them anyway. It's like, it's such a, like, it's, I don't know. I find it like,
I think here's the thing about like the nice thing about AI, just AI in general and how it's been created is you can ask AI to create you an image of anything now. I think somebody needs to solicit a bunch of Seahawks fans, a bunch of 12s, and ask them how they would decorate the VMAC. And then you crowdsource all of that information. You ask AI to design it for you. And then we can see what kind of clusterfuck, like broke down man cave looking thing it creates, because that's what it's going to look like. It's going to be insane. And I'm on board with
this.
I want to see.
Normally I would be against you. I'm on board with this. This is a good idea. They should do that. This is why we need
AI. This is how AI.
If you're not a bunch of fucking cowards, Seahawks, you crowdsource the AI prompt that leads to your decorations,